What do you say, folks? Got my Ian Johnson look going on here. I'm ready to problem solve. I trust that he wore his, thank you. I trust that he wore his finest Dewberry driving cap today. Better get rid of that and grab me my regular hat there. Somebody gonna make fun of this, I'm sure. Army. Golly. Woo, talk about problem solving. I got into a scenario last night. Went over to accommodate the young man who is in a wheelchair. I wanted to drop the table height for him and make it all comfortable and ergonomic. Is that better? Man, I got into you know what should have been something pretty simple. Got bogged down in trying to find stuff, you know, just trying to find stuff. And I'm not going to mention any names at all because this is live and in front of the universe and everything, but you know, I don't want to mention any names, but when you got a couple of instructors in an outreach facility there that's supposed to communicate on whether they're out of gas or not, oxyacetylene, we need to order certain things. I don't want to mention any names, but Logan Burgosh and Colby Enders, you know, a little communication and planning go a long way, but not to mention any names. We're going to go through some scenarios today on problem solving and just stuff, you know, and it should be educational. We all have stuff that's going to happen daily in the shop, so to enlighten a few things, and I'm kind of putting some stuff together here to make it easier to move around. You'll see in just a little bit. First of all, I guess this is the last session for the April Weld-On National Welding Month, sponsored by ESAB. I want to thank them for the opportunity to do these presentations, also the opportunity to work with the infamous Ian Johnson. I mean, wow, the guy puts on a great demonstration, very thorough. He's an educator at heart. He's also a builder, inspired by that. I'm kind of envious that he gets to do a lot of that on a daily basis and create, or leave me here to solve problems, you know. Not right. Anyway, and apparently tied to the comments, a lucky viewer is going to be able to obtain the new Rogue machine and a hood. So I need to know who it is so I can go visit. I want to spend some time on it. I want some hood time on that little machine. It looks cool to me. I'm curious about stuff like that. And anyway, we'll mention that several times. As far as Cowley College is going, Mr. Buddy Curry, our department chair, we're looking for an instructor full-time at our Mulvane facility. Still looking for adjunct at a Wellington facility. I need to find my replacement. I'm gonna retire or croak one of these days here, whichever comes first, but I need to find somebody to replace me. We're also gonna adjust some offerings, I should say. Maybe create some different completion levels, and I may be moving off to do more of a liaison type position where I'm working with all the instructors in all the 3 locations and doing advanced processes. So if you have a passion to teach and you have the education and the experience background, step up. Be fun. You can live here in the Badlands here in Kansas and experience every known weather pattern and stuff. It's fun. Anyway, I've got a few things I'm working on here today. One of them is I found something that I wanted to build to make it easier to move around and stuff. Still showcasing the ESAB equipment here, and I created a problem. Boy, I hope I solved it too. I'll show you what that's all about. First of all, we can talk common language here, common terms. How about 'tis the season, you know, coming into springtime, everybody goes out and they go to one of the big outlet stores and they're looking for a grill. Well, that's good entertainment for me, because you go buy all them junk, pre-made, hammered out jobs, and I don't like those. It's made out of paper thin material that rusts real quick. Why don't you make it out of something that lasts for a long, long time? Let's talk the universal language of a good old grilled, educated hamburger. Oh, I can smell one right now, can't you? Good wood chips. Got the old charcoal, hardwood. Throw some wet wood chips on there for smoke and flavor. Summertime, man, I like to season up chicken breasts. Let them marinate overnight, you know, and I like to make my own spice blends and grill something up and then put it on top of a salad or something. I might be having some people hacked off right now because they're hungry. They hadn't had lunch, like me. You know, I hadn't had lunch yet. But I don't know, summertime, I don't like to eat heavy. I still like to, you know, chicken, fish, beef, all that, just not in great quantities. I'm not even though I'm fat and old, I still don't eat a whole lot. I just eat often. But, veggies, even grilled veggies, good stuff. Grilled fruit. How many of you have had grilled pineapple? I love it. It's good stuff, you know. Anyway, let's talk grills. You know, we can fab up on a grill that's pretty simple to make. Common equipment. You can do it with stick, MIG, TIG. You can do it with oxyacetylene, for goodness sakes. Just how you lay it out and how you cut it, how you build your fire, bank your fire. If you want to grill smoke, you should be able to control all that. And so we'll talk a design thing that I've done since, I don't know, 1934 or something, somewhere in there. I came back from Alaska and I just got curious about building grills and smokers, and I think I've built probably 300 of them in my day. Yeah, I'd be amazed. Yeah, 300 of them. I was cranking them out. And for the longest time, I never put a smoke stack on anything. Put vents in it. Seriously. And I used the cinders. Hand me that flapper disc over there behind you there, sweetie. Yeah, how you doing there? That's a 5/8 11 Arbor. 5/8 11 Arbor. I don't mean to show the brand on that cheap thing. And in a regular grinding disc, it came out here a little further, and it had this ring in here. Well, there's a way to take that ring off and use that center, and that's what I use for vent caps. Okay.
So did you just use like old ones that were already used?
Got a whole box of them in there. I paid somebody to chuck them up in a lathe and spin that ring off of there. All you got to do is tap them on the table, and they come apart. You can heat them up to a certain temp, tap them on there. A little cleanup after that. Is anybody on there yet to get hacked off about my talking about grilling and food? No.
Oh,
anybody on there?
Yeah.
Welcome, folks. Make sure in your comments.
Someone said grilled banana peppers are wonderful.
Yes, they are. Banana peppers. Got a funny story about banana peppers. The banana pepper's supposed to be kind of mild. In my book, anyway. I got some at the co-op. They're kind of supposed to be like a tam pepper. We're talking a pepperoncini type flavor. I planted some early. I planted 24 jalapenos, a bunch of onions, okra, 24 tomato plants. Early on, I went out and working the garden, and I picked one of those banana peppers, thinking it was all mild and everything. I took a bite of that. I started running for the kitchen sink because I thought my face was going to come off. That thing was nuclear hot, and it was early in the season. For the rest of the summer, it was super mild. Anyway, gee whiz. Man Cub's on?
Yep.
What's up, Cub? Hey, Man Cub, what's the decimal equivalency of 13/16?
So
He'll get back to me at the end of the show.
Dakota said, "What's up, old man?"
Old man, yeah. Make fun of me, that's all right. Anyway, grilling and chilling I built a bunch of them for the longest time, and I used the grinding disc centers simply because when you get, I mean, making the tube or the tank or whatever you're going to grill on, that's one thing. The detail work is the other. And I have sealed up the ends on pipes. I've left them where they've been open a little bit. I've cut them open in all different ways. They always swarm, they always swell, they always kind of move around or whatever. I've cut a little bit, let it cool off. I've cut them from the end, the center, all kinds of different ways. I would cut a third of them out. I'll lay one out here after a while and show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, I used to be able to cut by hand and finish them with a file. It was that smooth. Cut with a straight edge or a burning bar. We need to find mine, by the way.
Man Cub said .8125. He said, haha, how to use a calculator.
They probably used a calculator, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, anyway, it's making the tube and getting it nice and sealed up. And then there's a way that I would MIG weld along the edges, or I call them the lips or whatever, and flat grind, flat sand, flat file. You could also roll up a piece of aluminum foil as a gasket, anything to make that seal up nice and tight. But we'll go through and do some layout. And that's what we ought to get on first, I would think. That'll serve two purposes, actually. Anybody see this? Or you? I don't know how close you are here, but I'm going to make a roly-roly for my stool here. I need to find a piece of thick foam or something there, contouring foam, so I can sit and be comfortable. And I'm going to cut out a circle over here to facilitate this so I can roll it around. Ian Johnson probably has a 5-point harness for me that he puts in his Jeep builds. I'll get with him because I'll probably need a 5-point harness on this stool so I can roll down a big old hill or something. I don't know. We'll get it going. But I'll be contacting Ian on some accessories for it. All right. So first things first. We'll get back here, and the first thing I want to do is, and this would be like cutting the end cap for this tube that I want to make. Now, I need one of the V-blocks, the big V-blocks that should have been over here. I don't have it down below. I need a big V-block. Where? Oh, hey. I got it. I got one little fit up block here.
Someone asked, hey Bob, what's your favorite material for building grills?
Well, that's a great question, and here's how I'm going to answer it. Anything that's free. No, I'll tell you what I like to build grills out of, for the simple fact that volume. And I'm not going to keep anything a secret here as far as, where's my needle nose? Which one of you borrowed my needle nose here, sir? Right over here. I like to build stuff that will create volume, but it doesn't need to be super heavy. Although, sometimes super heavy is good. I had a pair that I was working with that had the bent nose on them, because I was putting the spool gun together with them. They should have been left right here when I went and rinsed off the shaved, put the cold water on my head, almost gave me an aneurysm. Yeah. Create volume, but keep it kind of lightweight. Now, sometimes the weight is good because you build a nice grill and somebody want to steal it, you know. You want to make them heavy enough that they can't run off with them, or you hook it up to 220 and unground it and leave it wet around the base of it there or something. But here's some 12-inch pipe of 1/4-inch wall thickness that I found to be very nice to work with. And so if we were going to cut a end cap out of this and weld it, which I have done a gazillion times, we'll burn 10 inches here, and we like to go in about a 16th of 332. I would cut an end cap in here of 12 3/8 because this is 12 3/4, and we want a corner to corner fit. So corner to corner, I don't know how much zoom you got going on here, but you probably ought to pay attention here. Corner to corner would be something like this, where they overlap the same, and it creates that kind of a fit up there. It's a nice corner. When you make the weld, it rounds off nice. If you want to finish it and sand it, you can make it all nice and super smooth. If you want to show your weld, it's real easy to make a slip weld on there, I think anyway. I used to do them with stick on out in the driveway because that's all I had. And I would do them with a 60-10 rod downhill on a set of rollers that I rolled around manually. And I would do this little tuck and downhill U type thing, and man, it would fill in pretty slick, I thought. Even though it was 60-10, at least it had a nice little pattern to it that we could finish with. So, you know, cutting the end cap. The other thing I like to do nowadays is you just stay right there. I'll be right back here. I can do this by myself. And matter of fact, there, sir, you need to pull one out yourself. You got your gloves on? You don't even have safety glasses on, crying out loud. You in my shop, no safety glasses? Unreal. Excuse me, just a second here. I'm gonna grab something. Need to go back and grab that cast iron back there. That's all right, I'll get this heavy. What? Yeah. So the other thing I like to do these days is I like to create shapes out of thinner material to create the volume but not the weight, and that's to use like 10 gauge material. And this is the first one that we started building. I think we did a couple of clips on it on Weld.com back in the days when I was making movies on location. We did this out of diamond plate, tread plate, diamond plate. Did it out of tread plate, and it's the first one I ever kind of tried. I was doing it for my son. Went in the Army, went in basics. We started out and did a little baby wood rack for him and everything. He went AWOL on me. I don't know. He's supposed to come finish this thing. I told him I was going to finish it and sell it, give it away or something. Anyway, you can see that it's 10 gauge. This will go up into the main chamber. And here's what I like to do. I mean, I sealed this door up. It's going to be nice and tight, but everything on here is an octagon. And I've done several of these in the octagon shape, just not out of this type of material. But they don't warp, believe it or not. Real quickly, this is a flat plate on top of the firebox. I wanted it flat so that I could put a wok, a bean pot, coffee pot, whatever. I'm going to use the heat coming off of here. I have opened these up where you can grill on them as well, but no reason. And so I would put that little guy in there and hinge him. It's nice and flat. It's sealed on the inside. It has flat bar on it, so it's not going to warp the door. Octagon inlet, which I will build. What are you doing, man? God dang. Is that heavy?
Yeah.
Well, now you're gonna. All right, let go. I got it. I got it. You let go. Geez, son. Feel a little dusty. I guess I'm going to plug for these people here today, but I've done this several times. I've done the octagon several times. It doesn't warp. It stays, maintains its shape. It has good volume. The main smoke chamber, you can open it up to grill on. You can build a big old charcoal fire in there and grill 30 T-bones in a hurry. I have cooked on a 16-inch pipe, 16 by 28, about like that right there for volume, and I have cooked for 125 people. Okay, slinging burgers, doing quick stuff on there. It's good. Bratwurst, I like a bratwurst too. Anyway, there's all kinds of shapes. So if that answers the question on what type of material, what kind of material, how thick, maintain control, seal it up nice and tight. Somebody gave my dad this in 1952. My dad worked for Sunray Oil Company as a petroleum engineer, a geologist. And 1952, the cooking tools, cooking kettle out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was teaching a night class, and I had a conversation with a gentleman. Out of curiosity, I went and looked them up. They're still in business, but they're not in Tulsa anymore. I think they're in Ohio, Illinois, somewhere. But they now have these cast iron. This is cast iron, by the way. They now have these stackable rings on here that you can just keep going up and up and up. It has one vent. This one rusted out. It needs it was a butterfly inlet, kind of like this thing here. And it looks real ineffective, but I'm gonna braze a new vent in here. I probably put 3 of them in there, and I may do something different over here. This thing is, if I had $1 for every piece of chicken that's been off of this thing, I could fly everybody to Vegas right now and have dinner. I mean, this thing kept us, we did everything on it. And it's been a good old grill. My dad tried to throw it away 2 or 3 times. I kept digging it out, but I've replaced these with stainless grates and stuff.
Daryl Galloway asks, how do you avoid blow-through on the thin GA?
How do I avoid what?
Blow-through?
Blow-through on what?
GA material.
Huh?
GA material.
What's GA material?
Thin.
Gauge material, thin material. Lower the heat and do the travel speed. That's a tough one to answer because there's all kinds of scenarios. He didn't tell me what kind of material. Carbon steel, stainless steel, aluminum, gauge material. Move around, skip around. Move around and skip around quite a bit. Plan your welds. First, for accuracy, I always like to sharpen up. Now we need to cut something here. Actually what we're going to do is we're going to detail something right here, and let's go so that sits out flat. We're going to go 11 and a half. We'll go 11 5/8. What's half of 11 5/8? Anybody answer yet? By the way, in your comments, the lucky winner is going to get the machine and hood today. You get something from me if you tell me what half of 11 5/8 is. Come on now. Huh? All right. 11 5/8. Real simple. Half of 11 is what? 5 and a half. Half of 5/8 is 5/16. Add that poop back together. Change that to 8/16. It looks like 5 and 13/16. What it looks like to me. Doesn't it to you? Man Cub, 8125, he said. So, 5 and 11/16. So we got here 15, or 13/16, I should say. I'm sorry. So, let's go out here. 13/16. Huh?
Everybody's saying 5/13/16.
Well, good. We can be friends. Torch. You follow me right over here, sir. Need to turn these cylinders on. First thing I want to do is make sure that this is backed off and loose. I love this new design because you can back them all the way off and they stop. In the old ones, you could back the T-screw all the way out, but make sure these are loose. Stand to the side and turn them on slow. Oxygen opens all the way. Acetylene, I'll give it one full turn. I have a triple aught tip in here. I want to set 5 psi of acetylene pressure. I tend to open, that drops a little bit. Working pressure, I'll go 5 pounds there. I'm going to go 20 pounds on the oxygen. Combination torch, open your oxygen all the way on the torch body down here. You're controlling your flame up here on the cutting head. Thought I had a leak there for a sec. All right. I need to test this tip because I'm cutting on 3/16 material and I want a good flame. I don't want to have to do a bunch of cleanup afterward. I hate to grind. I may switch to a bigger tip. I'd like to have, oh, there it is right there. Hello there. Haven't seen this in a long time. I will use that in a second. Man, I've been carrying this thing around since the 70s, believe it or not. Neutral flame, depress the oxygen lever. Well, that suddenly got better when I left. I thought when I tested it before that it was going to be junk. Here is a homemade circle burner that I made for myself a long time ago. 2 different size nuts on here. One for the Victor Journeyman size. This is for the super range size, and I just hang on to it. I just do a handheld thing. Down and dirty. Poor folk go poor ways. I like it. It works for me. I'm not trying to impress. Just want to cut circles. Oh, for pity's sake, come on. I must have been cutting a very small hole or detailing something last time I used this. I can live with that. Would you do me a big old, there, hold this there, old buddy. Don't move it around, just. This is what we've been learning this last 8 weeks here. Apparently somebody took me serious and went home and practiced with their dummy rig because that ain't a bad cap. Is that yours? Is that yours? No? Safety, PPE. What'd you do with it? Come on, guy, you're killing me. Not what I'm looking for. Now we're all set up here. PPE. I have been wearing safety glasses, cutting goggles, and a face shield, and still get a piece of mill scale in my eye. Go figure that one out. Seriously. This is, I don't even know who makes this, but I found these. I found the clear one and I was cutting wood in it in the wintertime and I liked it so well. The hockey mask. But you can call me goofy, but I like them. I like them a lot. This COVID stuff, this virus thing's really been working out for me. I get all masked up, put surgical gloves on, go take care of a little business, you know. Go to the welding supply store and get stuff at the right price. Good old neutral flame. Get all wrapped up here. Some of you gonna think this is odd, and it is. I haven't cut with a triple-aught tip in a long time. I'm used to cutting with number ones a lot. See that? I tried to do the old Bob shuffle across there and keep right on going, but I don't have those skills anymore. This may warp some, but we'll get it back. Well, hello there, Brass Hammer. How you doing? As soon as that cools off, that goes on there. Intended target, 11 5/8 is what it was. Boom. Okay. And then we'll put our stool on top of that. And we'll get a hold of old Ian for the 5-point harness so we can strap in. That'll work out nicely, but that would be the same exact thing.
Someone asked, was the torch tip pointed straight down or slightly at a forward facing?
I lean it forward slightly when I'm doing this stuff, but straight up and down. Good cut, good neutral flame. Coupling distance, Mike, man cub, coupling distance. It's the distance from the preheat flames to the material. Keep that kind of consistent. You get a decent cut. Okay, this will be the exact same thing that I would do to measure, to put off on the end of the pipe, to cap it off, to start making the grill. I'll lay these things out where I come over here and put a mark, and I go across here. I'd go to the center, and then I would stop like up here. I want that at a slight angle, so that when you lift the lid, it goes just past center, and you put a small tab on top of your hinge, and it won't fall back any further. You don't want it so far back that when you lift up over the top of it, you now get stuff, well, you know what I'm talking about. You don't want to burn inside of your arm. Chip and hammer handle for on the handle on the grill to keep it cool. All kinds of little stuff that goes on. For the base, I have cut out a section of the pipe about 3/4 of the length, so that it is stable. It won't rock back and forth. I've done pipe strips where they come down, and then there's a tab that comes forward, and on that tab I put toes, so it looks like a foot out there, and it's stable. I do tend to do one other thing though, is I will have, it'll be off center. I'll move the grill forward in the stand so that as the lid comes back, it's balanced out. If not, if you center it right over the top and your stand just comes kind of straight down, well, there is that chance that it would rock back. I've had one of those early on do that. Learned a few things over the years about how to do small things to make them better. And then, that inspires me to do one other thing here. We talked about shape, volume, thickness, and weight. And now I want to do one out of aluminum. And I've had people argue with me that aluminum is going to melt when you cook on it. Really? Aluminum melts at what? Aluminum melts at what temperature? Well, about 1,100 degrees, depending on what it's alloyed with. Good old homemade circle burner. Another cool tool you can make for yourself. By the way, if that tip would have been fouled or it needed to be cleaned, I do a couple of things. Depends on who's used it last. I've had this thing since the 80s. It is a tapered barrel with a cutter on it. And I come in here and slide that baby down on there and give it a twist, governor. It cleans the end of that, faces the end of that tip off. That John Minch, he likes that right there, see? And then the other thing I would do, there's times I've turned just a whisper of oxygen on and run a mill file on there, run it flat. Or, ooh, wait a minute. Light pressure. Hello, darling. God, that's nice and flat. Or that Doug Smith, he likes the fine sandpaper. You drag it on there nice and flat. Oh, baby, look at that. Wow. Run a wire in it. if you do this correctly, you run them in with just a little bit of resistance and try to run them in straight. What you don't want to do is run them in and out of there where you're watering the hole out and it's an oval, not round. You want it concentric and you want it round. That's what gives you that good burn. You'll get the flame concentrated concentric in the middle of the preheat flames, and the smaller diameter tips like triple aught, double aught, 1. If you get the right pressures, it'll sound like a ripping sound. To me, that is cool, even though it's 5,700 plus. Trammel points, I lay out a lot of stuff with trammel points. The circle that I cut a minute ago, I'm going to kind of add on to it. I'm going to bring out a piece that'll be radiused and whatnot. I'll use these to lay out the radiuses. You could use a piece of pipe to do it or whatever diameter, but I'll pop some center punch marks in there and try to make, for my feet to sit out straight ahead of me there. So now, I said something about doing aluminum. And I did a little collaboration with a gentleman that came down from Kansas City. That would be Mr. Jesse McCullum. That guy thinks he can weld. He can pretty good. I've got his x-rays over here. These are his welds here. We did some experimenting with pure argon. Huh? Focus it. Oh, you want me to come closer? So we did one with pure argon, and we did one with 75% helium, 25% argon. Okay? And then I went back and tried to do DC TIG with that blend, with that 75-25. I'm not fully convinced. I mean, it looked really weird. It had some kind of phosgene green on there covering. It looked kind of gross and real crackly as far as the top surface. But when I cut into it, it was pure aluminum. But it made me think about one other thing that we could do with our equipment over here that we can fit up for shapes. I want to cut a couple of pieces of aluminum here real quick. You can zoom in on this from where you're at there, old buddy. One lucky winner gonna win a Rogue machine and a hood. Can you believe that? ESAB is generous. Good folks, good folks. Stainless wire brush, one direction only. This would be for a fillet weld. If I was doing this with an outside corner to create a tank or volume, I would probably want to overlap it more so that I would avoid any kind of a potential blow through, burn through. Again, I want to thank ESAB for these opportunities to showcase some common stuff that goes on in the shop. I know Ian put a really good presentation together on the stainless exhaust, stuff that he's into all the time. Now, hey, get off the phone, come here. Grab your gloves. I'm not going to do this. I was going to do the TIG thing. Axle Green, ladies and gentlemen. Green Axle Photography. What is it?
No, it's I Am Photography.
I Am.
11.
You've been shooting some pretty good stuff. But more importantly, your boy has been on ESAB social media more than you have.
Yeah, he has.
Old Des, man, he's a good one for. He's been over there on the plasma cutter a couple times. He's how's he doing? Is he better? Yeah. He needs to hang around me a little more, I think. Our circle warped a little bit, but that's all right. We'll get it back. We'll tune it up with an anvil. How about that? An anvil and a hammer. You know what? I better get a shirt on. I got to protect myself from UV light. UV light. Real quick, got to get my... Don't be making fun. Hey, nice shirt. Gee, look at there. Yeah, buddy. These things kind of comfy too. So, what do you think would happen here if we welded with pure argon on a spool gun? We're on DC, right? We want to be in a spray mode. There's no short arc in this. That's not fun. Okay, so we want to be in a spray. And I thought that I would really have to drop the bolts. That's not the case. I still needed to have the bolts. I'm in a spray mode, but when I was playing around with this, it was crappy and black for a sec. I was kept upping the wire speed. And I don't know the typical numbers of, I mean, I kind of do, but again, I set machines by sight and sound, and I really never paid attention. We're 035, 4043 aluminum, 75 helium, 25 argon. It's your job, man, right here. So we're 525 inches a minute on the spool gun. Hey, here's something for you manufacturers. How come you always got to turn it around and you don't even know what spool you got in here? Well, why not label it or something? I'll write it on there. I'm just joking. All right, here's something I like to do. How many of you have had a little bird nest inside your tube here on the spool gun? I have. I start out and I bump that thing. You're on aluminum and it's soft. This comes down and hits a grounded piece of material, sends a shock wave through here, and you get a bird nest in your drive rolls. I like to bend this over and it's going to fly off there.
Should we tell them to move on this side?
Huh?
Should we tell them to move on this side in case my arms fall?
Hush. Now you can move everywhere you want. Hey, give me my pliers back. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So, you know, typical, get a little black on there. So we're going to clean that off. And you can come around here if you want.